Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dave, and we're the IB English guys. This is part of our countdown to paper one. Our previous video, we talked about a digital brochure from the U.S. Navy, and now we're going to look at a sample piece of student writing.
Folks, this is the 6th time we've tried to film this video because we just can't get it right. But the guiding question is as follows. How does the digital brochure implement structure and style to communicate a message about the United States Navy SEALs? Giles, tell me what you like about the guiding question. What do you notice?
Structure and style. This is the formal or technical element that the guiding question is asking us to think about. So we're thinking about layout. We're thinking about how it's organized. And again, we're thinking about the image, the logo, all the different aspects of that give this its certain style.
Yeah, and of course, there's a main message there as well. Why don't you go ahead and read the thesis and tell us what the student came up with?
Okay, let's see what they said. The United States Navy leverages structure and style to communicate the main claim that patriotic young Americans should be honored to join the Navy SEALs, as this elite fighting force is deeply rooted in pride, power, and history.
A lot going on there, Giles. Okay, first of all, I like to see the keyword structure and style. I like that. I see the word main claim as well. So the language of the question has been loaded up into the thesis. I see values like patriotism. I see words like honor. And then I see words like pride, power, and history. I feel like the students got a lot of ideas to share, and this is a powerful thesis statement.
I agree. I mean, I think again, they're really thinking about, okay, what is the main claim? What's this? What is this text saying about the Navy? And they're giving you a clear idea. So I think it's again doing its job well.
Yeah, I agree. And it looks like for the rudimentary outline, the student is going to plan as follows. They're going to start with an introduction. Of course, that leads to a main claim. And it looks like their first body paragraph, Giles, is going to look at the image on the front cover and think about those ideas of power and pride. How will they finish it up?
Yeah, then they're going to talk about joining the SEALs and the idea of tradition and history. I think that's a really strong paragraph. The third body paragraph will then talk about challenging oneself and the whole concept of the warrior.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to capture this notion of rhetoric and style, look at language elements and try to link that to pride and power as well. And of course, every good paper ends with a conclusion. So that looks like the plan. Looks like this writer's going for 6 paragraphs, Giles.
Yeah, very good. So in our introduction, again, we see many students giving a good hook that engages us, gets us to think about things. And again, this is again a really good strong opening sentence, thinking about the importance of recruiting and how the brochure is going to function.
Yeah, we see that sentence stem aimed at. We've seen that quite a few times in our sample papers, Giles. Our students use that to sort of mark off the audience. Okay. And then Giles, looks like that thesis is sitting there at the bottom, and it looks like that's a pretty solid intro. They've got the language of the guiding question in green. I think the writer is off and running and focused and ready to rock.
Yeah, and I like the word impassioned, the highly impassioned depiction. I think that's really, that's again showing insight. That's really thinking about, you really feel the passion when you read this brochure. That's a really nice structure, nice phrase. So our first body paragraph is going to, again, connecting to the words of the guiding question, really smart, but it's again thinking about that idea of power and pride. That's the main message. So really smart. It's got both those elements.
Yeah, and Giles, obviously the image is the massive thing that just fills up the entire front page of the brochure. So it's smart to take that on first, thinking about the medium shot, the low angle, the silhouette, really thinking about some of those visual literacy aspects, those choices and how they shape meaning.
Yeah.
And they've also captured that notion of the people being faceless.
That's right. And that being part of the job that the recruitment wants to try to appeal to everyone. That's really good. And then in the second part of this paragraph, they're talking about the font and the heading and the headline that we see. And I think that's, again, quite powerful.
Yeah, and I think with style, it looks like this student is actually taking language aspects and wrapping that up into style. I think that's okay to do that. Would you say that?
I do. I think style is broad enough that we can do that. Again, we're using that as our point of entry to be able to talk about this text. And clearly the writer is focused on the guiding question.
Last point on this paragraph, I do like how we have the 2 pink sentences and the sort of near the topic sentence and toward the concluding sentence as well. It really shows that they've sort of really focused on this aspect of pride. Let's look at that second body paragraph, Giles. What do you like?
Really smart that they're telling us that they're moving on to the second page. This is a two-page text. So again, they're talking about the structure of the second page. And now they're going to talk about how it's organized in a logical fashion. I think talking about structure is sometimes hard for students, but it's very important for this particular
and
question.
Giles, this is a really good time to think about what's in our toolbox for brochures when we're thinking about structure, right? We want to think about white space. We want to think about headings. We want to think about slogans. We want to think about how things are positioned on the page. We have the toolbox that we developed in the last video, so let's execute that and put that into play here. And it looks like that's what the student has done.
Yeah, that's great. And again, they're quoting short snippets of text. You know your potential, and then they're trying to unpack them and talk about some of the implications. I think that's really nice. So I like the little nuggets of language that they're talking about. So our third body paragraph now is we're talking about the style of the second page. So that's interesting. We talked about structure on the second page. Now we're doing style.
Yeah, and that's when I think about what we talked about in our last video, we were quite interested by the second person you and the synthetic personalization. We thought that was quite impactful. We talked about lexical clusters of some of those words and the positive connotations, and it looks like this writer's picked that up as well. Giles, the 9 to 5 versus sort of this normal mundane 9 to 5. What are they saying here? What are they juxtaposing?
Yeah, it was what we talked about in the previous video, the way that the Navy SEAL is juxtaposed with this, 9 to 5 everyday worker. And again, they're pointing that out just to say that this is special. And they notice the superlatives and the hyperbole, and that's, I think, again, really good attention to language and attention to style.
I think this writer's doing well, and they're going to continue on, the writer will, and talk about more language aspects. And it looks like this penultimate paragraph here will be looking at rhetoric, Giles. What are some things there's those verbs again, Giles, talk to us.
Yeah, right. The whole idea of uncompromising and sacrificing and pushing and pulling, these are really strong verbs that we talked about. And again, they're making note of that and thinking about the implication, the commitment, and the drive.
One thing we did not talk about, Giles, which this writer seems to have captured, is the notion of the word security and all that security, the implications of the word security for the intended target audience. What do American people feel about security, Giles? Why is this such an important word?
Yeah, and I think like the writer said, 9/11 was really a cataclysmic event that really changed the way people felt about the security of their own borders, and to think about how the military is there to preserve our security. So I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think that's a really good nuance that writer added there.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
The conclusion, Giles, we're getting toward the end. What do you see?
I think, again, they're going back to the central message of pride and patriotism that's clearly all over this brochure. And again, I like how they're really thinking about some of the implications, right? They said, in the end, it must be noted at no time do they make reference to death or danger. Now, that's actually not what's in the text, but what's not in the text.
Yeah, I feel like, that's interesting because as an examiner, I felt like the student wasn't doing a lot of evaluation in the actual writing itself, Giles, but I feel like that's a pretty evaluative comment there at the end.
Yeah, that is. I like that. And I think that's pretty powerful. And they're asking questions at the end. So this conclusion is really showing some thinking.
It's showing some thinking.
Yeah, and not just rehashing the topic.
What do you say we reflect on this paper and put some numbers on this, A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, understanding and interpretation criteria A, Mr. Giles. What do you notice about this paper? What do you think?
I feel like they're from the beginning to the end really capturing that central message really well. They talk about that pride and patriotism really well. I think they talk about a number of different implications like we just talked about.
Yeah, right? I think so as well.
The whole idea of security, the idea of not mentioning death and danger, that's good insight.
Yeah, I think as well. Of course, having those rich, carefully chosen textual references is part of A as well. I see a lot of blue nuggets here, a lot of attention to visual literacy and language. I'm going 5 for A, Giles.
Yeah, I agree. And criteria B this time, I'm also inclined to give this a 5 because I see a wide variety of features that are explored and some of the nuances and what they're talking about. While they don't use the words, this is a very powerful, effective use of, I think they are evaluating. You can sense the idea that they're talking about the sort of the impact, right?
Well, I see sentences like the message is clear. Like that is evaluative in itself.
That's right. Right.
So I think, what are you comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with a 5 on criteria B.
Yeah.
I think it's again, really, I think it shows great insight into the effects of these, of the style and structure.
Yeah. For C, Mr. Giles, we have about a 1,150 word response. So it's quite developed. There's a lot of green to indicate that they're focused on the language of the guiding question, a lot of pink ideas. I feel like that it is cohesive between paragraphs. I think it's glued together nicely. I'm going to go 5 for C on this as well.
I think I think with structure, like with the organization, there's no point in the paper where I'm not sure where they're going. I know exactly where they're going. I'm finding it a kind of a pleasure to read, and there's a great flow of ideas. So yeah, I agree. And then language, I see this as highly confident. There's voice where there needs to be voice, and again, very precise, and I would put this at a 5 as well.
Folks, we're not going to show you a bad paper. That's not what we're trying to do here. Of course, we're going to show you good papers. It looks like these 2 examiners have given this one a 20 out of 20, and I think a lot of people would concur.
Yeah. Okay. So we hope that this video is instructive. This is about looking at good writing and thinking about moves that students made in producing a good piece of writing. And again, we hope this gives you ideas for what you can include. And this is, again, when you're watching these videos, if you're to the end of this video, remember, this is not just, you can't just passively participate in this video. You've got to actively think about what you would do and how you can learn. So when you watch the videos, apply these things in your own writing.
Yeah, write some papers, folks. Ask your teachers for some feedback. Stay with us. We'll guide you to paper 1 success. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Thanks, guys.